Come for Problem Solvers have uncovered a shocking case. A police officer caught on tape suggesting they could make up evidence. It's part of our ongoing series of stories involving Seattle police. Problem solver Tracy Vetter is here with what she's uncovered. Tracy.
Well, Mary, we always knew that gaining access to SPD's dash cam videos would be a critical element of ensuring that citizens really know what's happening within the department. And the video we discovered really makes that case. It's about two young men caught and arrested, though it later turns out this is a case of wrongful arrest. But the most shocking part is what the officer tells one of the young men when he's booking him.
You're going to jail for robbery, that's awesome. Robbery. I'm going to make stuff up. Robbery. Here I am.
Listen again.
I'm going to make stuff up.
That's just one of the surprising things we discovered when we started looking into this case. We talked to the young men who filed a complaint with the department as well as SPD to get their take on what happened here. Now, I'll have the rest of their story coming up tonight on Come 4 News at 11. Mary?
That's shocking. Thank you very much, Tracy. You bet.
Witness now contradicting the police version of yesterday's confrontation in a Catholic school parking lot that ended with the death of 54-year-old Patricia Cook. Peggy Fox is in Culpeper with the latest on this investigation.
An eyewitness here in Culpeper is contradicting what state police are saying about the investigation and why the Culpeper police officer fired at a Sunday school teacher.
He had his hand on the door handle. One hand here and one hand, I remember distinctly because his hands were real close together.
Chris Bouchel says he saw a Culpeper town police officer shoot 54-year-old Patricia Cook to death in this church parking lot yesterday morning. Cook was in her Jeep Wrangler. State police say Cook rolled up the window, catching the officer's arm inside and then dragged him. Bouchel says it didn't happen that way.
He was right next to the vehicle. He had one hand on the door handle and one hand on his weapon. And she was rolling the window up. And they were exiting out of the parking lot. The window was halfway up. He said, "Stop or I'll shoot." And I really didn't think he was going to do it. But she got the window all the way up, and that's when he shot. And then she took a left out of the parking lot here. And he stepped out in the street and fired 5 more times.
Bouchel says the officer was not dragged. He says he couldn't have had his arm caught because he fired through the glass.
I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I'm fighting back tears right now.
Cook's husband doesn't understand why an officer would shoot his unarmed wife multiple times.
Personally, I think it may be an overreaction. Maybe excessive force, but I can only surmise that.
He doesn't know why his wife was in the parking lot of the Epiphany Catholic School. Their couple's pastor at Culpeper United Methodist Church thinks she may have been there searching for a job to work with children because she loved her volunteer role teaching Sunday school here.
We have to celebrate the good things and the parts that we had of Patton and not just what we've lost.
Gary Cook is filled with questions along with his grief over his wife's killing.
I wish I knew what was going on. I honestly do. I wish I knew what was happening.
Culpeper Town Police and the County Sheriff's Department are assisting state police in the investigation. No charges have been filed, but Gary Clark is talking to an attorney about possible legal action.
A mother grieving over the death of her 2 youngest children. In their village in West Sumatra, 13-year-old Faisal and 17-year-old Budri were arrested by police for theft. During visits, family noticed that their youngest brother had bruises and was in severe pain. 5 days after his arrest, police told him that he and his brother Budri, who was detained a few days later, were found hanging next to each other in their cells.
Police say they hanged themselves. How is it possible then that their teeth are broken, their neck is broken, the skull is fractured, that there is a shot wound on the knee, and their bodies are full of bruises? Is this how people look like who hang themselves?
The family has taken the case to the National Human Rights Commission, who has done its own investigation.
According to our investigation, these children didn't die because they hanged themselves, but because of torture. And what I believe is that they were hanged when they were already very weak.
At the police station where the 2 boys died, we are not allowed to see the cell where they allegedly hanged themselves. The officers who were on duty at the time of their death have been suspended. Their boss and 2 others are officially charged with torture. Anger, grief and frustration here at this isolated community in Sumatra after the death of these 2 children. Many questions are being raised, not only here, but also in Parliament in Jakarta and even abroad, about what exactly has happened at that police station. But so far, the police has not given any clear answers.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Monday, February 20th, 2012, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com, that's ggnonline.com, and ddarko2012 is my YouTube channel. Also, ddarko2013 is my new YouTube channel, and all the links will be posted in YouTube's video description, all the headlines and links that I'm covering here. So someone said, where do you get your news from? Well, let me just answer that. Just look in YouTube's video description, like I've said about a million freaking times. And what? You can go in there and you can see all the headlines and links that I spend all the time putting in there, and that's where I get it, from mainstream and alternative news. Hopefully that answers that person's question. U.S. double standards indirectly arming Syrian rebels. So I was going to play this just for time's sake. I want to make sure I get the pigs in there doing what they do best, is brutalizing innocent people. So just go in there and check this out. The link will be posted. It is from RT, Mainstream News. So moving on here, I have a lot of interesting news in this video, so I'm going to move fast. Syria seizes Israeli weapons. The Syrian security forces have seized Israeli weapons from armed groups responsible for the killing of hundreds of people across the country. That's right, these are weapons used by the armed opposition to kill the sons of Syrian nation. Libya's new rulers offer weapons to Syria rebels. Remember Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda basically saying what? Oh, we got to go and help our brothers down in Syria, right? And it says here, the rebels held secret talks with Libya's new, basically puppet regime that's held up by the West. But don't worry, the real Libyan people are fighting to get their sovereignty back right now. U.S. arms being smuggled to Syria as special forces direct rebel attacks. So U.S. arms being smuggled to Syria as special forces direct rebel attacks. I tried looking for the article about Saudi Arabia actually supplying, and then the U.S. supplying Saudi Arabia. So I try to make that link, but just for time's sake, I'm going to keep moving here. Go in there and check that out. So the U.S. is bringing in weapons. Israel's bringing in weapons. Libya's bringing in weapons. But then look at this. These two turd bags, two senators, say U.S. should arm Syrian rebels. Well, maybe they didn't get the memo that they're already armed by the West. Moving on here, Red Cross tries to broker Syria ceasefire. So the Red Cross, known for stealing and defrauding millions of people and millions of dollars based off usually false flag or weather modification, weather weapons type incidences or catastrophes, right? They go in there and they exploit people's emotions and make a bunch of money, and then when they ask where the money went, well, it didn't actually go to the people like in Haiti and in Japan and whatnot, but they're going to stick their noses into a sovereign country like Syria and say, hey, you need to cease fire. So it's just getting really pathetic and sick in my mind. I don't know how other people that are Americans aren't just disgusted by this. Israeli spy admits anti-Syria plot. Syrian security forces have arrested an Israeli spy that has confessed to plots hatched by the Tel Aviv regime against the country's Syrian media reports. Next up, British troops support Syrian armed groups in Hamas. Remember, SAS was actually on the ground in Libya, and so yeah, now you have them in Syria as well. So it's very grassroots, very from the bottom up, not from the top down or anything like that. So British troops are supporting Syrian armed groups in Homs, and the rebels or terrorists in Syria are taking up a position as they fight with government forces. There's a picture right there. Moving on here, U.S. closely watching Syrian chemical weapons, right, like Iraq and that. U.S. allies are closely monitoring Syria's large stockpiles of chemical arms. Let's not pay attention to Israel, the United States, or any other country for that matter. Let's just look at the country where we want to exploit and have a regime change. Resource rapture, Syria's untapped assets desired by allies and enemies alike. So there you go. Go in there and check that out. Link will be posted. That's what they're really after, not their chemical weapons, not their nuclear arsenal. Officials, U.S. drones monitoring clashes in Syria. So now they got drones monitoring the clashes. A good number of unmanned U.S. military and intelligence drones are operating in the skies over Syria, monitoring the Syrian military attacks. Military attacks against opposition forces. Well, no, they're defending themselves against outside invaders / terrorists. Kind of like Iran. They're trying to bow up before they're attacked. It's a natural response, and if you don't do it, you're a dumbass. If you just sit there and take it in the jaw. As predicted, CIA-sponsored Muslim Brotherhood becomes enemy More than 70% of Egyptians, according to a recent Gallup poll, no longer want U.S. funding. It says here it's a new wave of anti-Americanism thriving in Cairo. And it's not that they're anti-American. They just want the countries that have been in there basically supporting and backing Israel and their regime in Egypt. They just want them out. They just want them out of their country, like Pakistan. They're not wanting to go on the attack. So don't get scared, Americans. You damn sheeple. They're not going to come over here and attack in boats. They just want to be left the F alone. Can you get that? Russia thwarts U.S. Central Asian counter-drug program. So see, the U.S. is in Central Asia, and Russia reportedly convinced its allies and the Collective Security Treaty Organization not to participate in the new U.S. counter-drug program in Central Asia, apparently concerned that it would give the U.S. too much leverage over the regional governments, which it would, right? Just militarizes the police force. It also federalizes the police force. And just like the last video, what we cover about Afghanistan and the opium and the poppy fields is what? They're up 60%. So that's what it's about, having Marines guard that stuff, the drugs. It says here, Russia warns U.S. against deploying their ships in northern seas. And they went on and warned today the U.S. against stationing the Aegis-equipped ships in the Black and Northern Seas. Then moving over to another part of Asia, North Korea threatens retaliation over South Korea's war games. So kind of like what the U.S. is doing right now, floating their ships on the Strait of Hormuz and that, trying to get attacked to provoke a war. North Korea warned South Korea, which is basically a western-backed country, on Sunday that it would shell islands close to their disputed sea border if the South violates its territorial waters during a military drill reported to begin in the Yellow Sea this week. Okay, moving on. Washington, D.C., FBI foils own terror plot. Again, the FBI has once again proven that the only thing Americans need to fear is their own government, with the latest, quote, terror attack, and, quote, foiled being one entirely of their own design. USA Today reports that the suspect had been arrested by the FBI, who was, quote, en route to the U.S. Capitol allegedly to detonate a suicide bomb, end quote. Sounds familiar like this, right? This individual, Mr. Farrak, was actually working for the FBI, part of a sting operation. That's right. So, unrepentant would-be mass murderer, right? The underwear bomber, jailed for life without parole for failed Christmas Day planned attack. I have a feeling this guy is not going to make it his complete life in jail, because he might actually talk. And it's weird because after this, what came after this? The body scanners, they were rolled out everywhere. Then we have this, guarding Ground Zero, look at the amazing and terrifying artificial intelligence AI that will protect the New World Trade Center. It'll keep you safe from the terrorists and other criminals. And speaking of TSA and body scanners, TSA says woman has cute figure, asks for 3 body scans. Talking about getting fired for allegedly doing a, quote, peep show, end quote, naked body scans of women who agents think are attractive. So as senators, sellouts, ramp up fear-mongering to try to rush through the cybersecurity bill to keep you safe from the terrorists and yourself, a kill switch, which I believe wasn't included in the recent bill. Either way, FBI could shut off internet for thousands on March 8 to eradicate a virus. Federal biometric ID program, Secure Communities, expands to its 27th state. A FOIA request brought about what? Information that said that these communities, these secure community programs, are to include even law-abiding American citizens. Well, what kind of communities? Well, communities against terrorism, run by the Bureau of Blind Justice. Next up, we have Google turns iPhones into spy phones. They've been spying on millions of iPhone users around the world, according to a leading newspaper. Then Twitter vows privacy changes after iPhone data emission. It says they uploaded entire address books from iPhone users and store them on its computers for up to 18 months. Britain, details of every phone call, text message, email, and websites visited will be stored in a vast corporate database for the government to access. DARPA wants to give soldier robots surrogates and basically Avatar style. Then we have this, more than human, the ethics of biologically enhancing soldiers. Talking about super soldiers, basically, MK Ultra and all that. And these people already exist. And, you know, it's kind of a sad life, actually, what they have. Totally used and manipulated. Smart meters being funded by the U.S. military. Feds for purposely keeping U.S. borders wide open, experts say. Should police and coast guards use laser dazzlers which are normally used at military checkpoints that temporarily cause blindness. South Carolina has round-the-clock checkpoints, silencers, face masks, snipers, and aerial surveillance for the Chicago G8.